Jake Morrison sat in front of 12 computer screens at the Space Force base in Colorado. He had been watching the same satellite feeds for 3 years. Most days, nothing happened. Earth looked the same from space: blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. Today started like any other Tuesday morning. At 10:47 a.m., his coffee mug fell from his hand and broke on the floor. What the hell? Jake stared at his main screen. A shadow was moving across Michigan. Not a cloud shadow. This was perfectly round and huge. The satellite feed showed something that should not exist. Control, this is Morrison. I need backup on screen 7 right now. Lisa Adams ran into the room 2 minutes later. She was the best scientist they had for studying strange things in space. Her white coat was still buttoned wrong from rushing over. Jake, what are you seeing? Look. He pointed at the screen. That shadow over Detroit. It's not moving with the wind, and it's getting bigger. Lisa grabbed a chair and sat down hard. Her face went white. That's not a shadow, Jake. That's something blocking the sun. Something big. The phone rang. Jake picked it up. Morrison here. This is General Hayes. We're getting reports of unusual activity over Detroit. What do you see up there? Sir, there's something in the sky above the city. Something very large. How large? Jake looked at his measurements. About 10 miles wide, sir. The line went quiet for a long moment. Keep watching. Report everything. I'm sending Captain Bell to your location. Jake hung up and turned back to the screens. The shadow was still there, but now he could see the edges more clearly. It was not a natural shape. It had straight lines and curves that looked planned. Made. Lisa, this is a ship. That's impossible. No one on Earth can build something that big. Then it's not from Earth. Ryan Bell walked into the room 30 minutes later. He was a Marine captain with short black hair and serious eyes. He had been in 3 wars and never looked worried about anything. Today he looked worried. Show me what you've got, Ryan said. Jake pointed to the main screen. The shadow was still there, hanging over Detroit like a dark cloud that would not move. Sir, we think it's a spacecraft, not one of ours. Ryan stared at the screen for a full minute. Then he picked up the secure phone and dialed a number. This is Bell. Get me the Pentagon, now. He waited. Sir, this is Captain Bell reporting unusual aircraft over Detroit. No, sir, not aircraft. Spacecraft. Alien spacecraft. While Ryan talked on the phone, Jake noticed something new on his screens. Smaller objects were falling from the large ship. They looked like drops of rain, but they were too big and falling too slowly. Lisa, look at this. She leaned over his shoulder. Those are smaller ships. They're landing in the city. Jake switched to a different camera that could see the streets of Detroit. Cars had stopped moving. People were getting out and looking up at the sky. Some were running. Some were just standing there staring. Then the light started. It began as a soft blue glow around the smaller ships. Within seconds, it spread out in circles. Everything the light touched began to change. Buildings started to look fuzzy around the edges. Cars began to fade. People stopped running. What's happening to them? Lisa whispered. Jake adjusted his cameras to get a better view. What he saw made no sense. The buildings were not breaking apart or falling down. They were disappearing, dissolving, like sugar in hot water. They're taking everything apart, he said. The buildings, the cars, the people, everything. Amy Foster burst into the room. She was their best person for radio communications. She was holding a small device that was making strange noises. Jake, Lisa, Captain Bell, you need to hear this. Someone is trying to talk to us. She put the device on the table and turned up the volume. Strange sounds came out. Not human sounds, not any Earth sounds. Can you translate it? Ryan asked. I'm trying. The computer is working on it now. Amy typed fast on her laptop. Wait, I'm getting something. The device made more strange noises. Then Amy's computer spoke in a flat, electronic voice. Your species? Shows promise. We have taken a sample. Do not interfere with future harvests. The room went completely quiet. Jake looked at his screens. The blue light was still spreading across Detroit. More and more of the city was disappearing. Not destroyed, just gone. How many people live in Detroit? Ryan asked quietly. About 670,000, Lisa answered. Jake watched his screens for 4 hours. The blue light moved slowly but never stopped. It took apart every building, every car, every tree, every person. When it was finished, Detroit was gone. In its place was a perfect circle of bare dirt, smooth and clean like someone had erased the city with a giant eraser. The alien ships rose back into the sky. The large ship started to move away from Earth. Within an hour, Jake's screens showed only empty space and blue sky. Control, this is Morrison. The objects have left Earth's atmosphere. Detroit is gone. Completely gone. He put down his radio and looked at the others. Ryan was still staring at the screen showing the smooth dirt where a city used to be. Lisa was crying quietly. Amy was trying to record more alien signals, but there were none. What do we do now? Jake asked. Ryan stood up straight, like a soldier getting ready for a fight. Now we call the president, and then we figure out how to make sure this never happens again. Jake saved all his recordings and sent them to every important person he could think of. Somewhere out in space, aliens had just taken 670,000 people and turned them into raw materials. They did it in 4 hours like it was easy, like they had done it many times before. Earth had just learned that it was not alone in the universe, and that lesson had cost them an entire city. Carl Hayes had not slept for 3 days. The general sat in a room deep underground in Colorado, looking at photos of where Detroit used to be. 72 hours ago, he had been planning his retirement. Now he was planning for war against aliens. The room was full of the most important people on Earth. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists all sat around a huge table. Everyone looked tired and scared. "Ladies and gentlemen," Carl said, "we need to face the truth. Earth has been attacked. 670,000 Americans are dead, and the enemy thinks we're too weak to fight back." Nathan Cross stood up. He was a thin man with thick glasses who knew more about physics than almost anyone alive. "General Hayes, I've been studying the energy readings we got from the alien ships. I have some good news and some bad news." "Give me the bad news first," said President Helen Baker. "The bad news is that their technology is about 1,000 years ahead of ours. Their ships can dissolve matter at the atomic level. They can travel faster than light. They have weapons we can't even understand yet." The room was quiet. Finally, the president asked, "What's the good news?" Nathan smiled for the first time in 3 days. "The good news is that they're not as smart as they think they are. Their technology is very advanced, but it's also very old. They've been using the same methods for a very long time. They've stopped learning new things." "Sophie?" Turner raised her hand. She was an engineer who had been working with the strange energy the aliens left behind. "I agree with Dr. Cross. I've been testing the energy patterns they used to dissolve Detroit. Their system works perfectly, but only in one way. They can't change it or adapt it." "What does that mean?" asked Carl. "It means they're like a very powerful but very old computer. They can do amazing things, but only the things they were programmed to do. Humans are different. We can learn new things fast. We can change. We can think of ideas they would never expect." Matt Rogers, a colonel who had fought in 4 different countries, leaned forward. "So you're saying we might have a chance?" "I'm saying we have something they don't have," Sophie replied. "We can be unpredictable. They've been in control of space for thousands of years. No one has ever fought back successfully. They don't know how to deal with enemies who don't follow the rules." President Baker looked around the room. "What are you suggesting?" Nathan pulled out a thick folder. "I'm suggesting Operation Lazarus. We don't try to match their technology. Instead, we use our ability to think differently. We build weapons they won't see coming. We attack in ways they don't expect." Carl opened the folder. Inside were plans for ships and weapons that looked nothing like anything Earth had ever built. "These designs don't make sense." "Exactly," said Sophie. "They make sense to us, but they won't make sense to the aliens. Look at this ship design. It uses quantum computing to exist in 2 places at once. The alien sensors can't detect something that isn't really there. Dr. Cross pointed to another page. And this weapon works by turning their own dissolving technology against them. We take their energy and feed it back into their ships. It's like using their own sword to cut them. Matt looked at the plans carefully. How long would it take to build these things? If every country works together and gives us everything we need, maybe 2 years. President Baker stood up. 2 years to build weapons we've never tested using science we barely understand to fight enemies who have ruled space for thousands of years? Yes, ma'am. She looked around the room at all the world leaders. Anyone have a better idea? No one spoke. Then we do it. I'm authorizing unlimited funding. Every scientist, every engineer, every factory on Earth will work on this project. Matt, I want you to lead the military planning. Matt nodded. We'll need new soldiers, too. People who can think like the aliens think, but also think like humans. Whatever you need, the president said. Over the next 3 months, the world changed. Factories that used to make cars started making spaceship parts. Universities that taught history started teaching alien technology. Children learned about physics instead of just reading and math. Sophie worked 18 hours every day in a laboratory in Nevada. She was building the first quantum ship, a spacecraft that could exist and not exist at the same time. Every test failed, but each failure taught her something new. Nathan worked with teams in 12 different countries. They were creating new types of computers that worked like human brains instead of like machines. The aliens understood machine thinking, but human thinking was chaos to them. Matt built training centers in secret locations around the world. He was teaching soldiers how to fight in space, how to think like aliens, and how to use weapons that didn't exist yet. Amy Foster, the communications expert, worked on breaking the alien language. She discovered that the aliens had not really talked to anyone in thousands of years. They only gave orders. They had forgotten how to have conversations or negotiate. That's another weakness, she told Carl. They don't know how to deal with people who talk back. Jake Morrison kept watching space, looking for more alien ships. He found evidence that they had visited Earth before, many times. They had been taking small groups of people for hundreds of years. Detroit was just the first time they took a whole city. They're farming us, he realized. Like we farm cattle. They take some, but leave the rest to grow. This discovery made everyone angry. The aliens didn't see humans as intelligent life. They saw humans as animals to be harvested. Lisa Adams studied everything they knew about the aliens. She learned that they called themselves the Zephyrian Collective. They controlled over 1,000 worlds. They had destroyed entire civilizations that tried to fight them. But, she told the others, every civilization that fought them tried to copy their technology. No one ever tried to use completely different technology. No one ever tried to be unpredictable. By the end of the first year, Earth had changed completely. Countries that had been enemies for decades worked together. Rich and poor people worked side by side. Everyone had the same goal: make sure the aliens never took another human city. The first quantum ship was almost ready. The first brain computers were learning to think. The first space soldiers were training with weapons that could phase in and out of reality. Carl Hayes looked at the progress reports. They were behind schedule, but they were learning faster than anyone had expected. Humans were good at learning under pressure. 1 more year, he told his team. 1 more year, and we'll be ready to show these aliens what happens when you mess with Earth. Outside, the night sky looked the same as always, but now everyone who looked up knew that somewhere in that darkness, alien ships were planning their next harvest. Detroit was gone, but Earth was not giving up. Humanity was getting ready to fight back. 18 months after Detroit disappeared, Kevin Price stood on the deck of the first invisible ship ever built by humans. The USV Ghost looked like empty air, but he could feel the metal under his feet. The quantum generators hummed quietly in the engine room. "Admiral, we're ready for the first test," said Claire Watson. She was the scientist who had figured out how to make ships that existed and didn't exist at the same time. "Are you sure you want to be on board for this?" Kevin nodded. If we're asking our people to trust this technology, I need to trust it first. Claire pressed a button. The world around them went strange. Kevin could still see everything, but colors looked different. Sounds seemed to come from far away. His body felt light, like he was floating in water. We're now existing in quantum superposition, Claire explained. To any normal sensors, we're not here, but we can still move, still fight, still think. On the ground below them, Tony Blake watched his instruments. He was the engineer building Earth's new weapons. His sensors showed empty sky where the ghost should be. I can't see you at all, he said into his radio. Come back down. This test is a success. When the ghost became visible again, Kevin felt normal, but he also felt something else. Hope. For the first time since Detroit, he believed humans might actually win. How many of these ships can we build? He asked Claire. We have materials for 50, but we'll only need 3 for the main mission. The main mission? Kevin had been planning it for months with help from Lauren Smith and Alex Miller. Lauren was a pilot who had been flying spy missions to track alien patrol routes. Alex was a computer programmer who had broken into the alien communication system. Lauren walked into the hangar carrying a thick folder of photographs. She had been taking pictures of alien ships from her stealth aircraft for 8 months. The aliens never noticed her because her plane was too small and primitive for their sensors to detect. Admiral, I've got the patrol schedules for the next 6 months, Lauren said. The aliens follow the same routes every time. They never change. They never adapt. Alex sat down at his computer. I've got something even better. I've been reading their messages for 3 months now. They're incredibly stupid. What do you mean? Kevin asked. They don't use codes or secrets in their communications. They don't think anyone is smart enough to understand them. I've been reading their mail like it's a newspaper. Alex pulled up, files on his screen. Look at this. This message is from their central command to all patrol ships. It says, continue standard harvest protocol. No changes required, no threats detected. They don't know we're preparing to fight them. They have no idea. And better yet, I know how their whole system works. Alex brought up a map of space with thousands of dots connected by lines. This is their empire. See these 3 big dots? These are their command worlds. Everything else is controlled from these 3 places. Ben Carter, their best military scientist, studied the map. If we destroyed those 3 worlds, the whole empire would fall apart, Alex finished. All their ships, all their colonies, everything depends on orders from these 3 places. Cut off the head, and the body dies. Kevin felt his heart beating. Faster. Can we get to all 3 at the same time? That's the beautiful part, said Claire. With quantum ships, distance doesn't matter the same way. We can be at all 3 places at exactly the same moment. In a training facility hidden in Alaska, Maria Lopez was teaching the first group of quantum pilots. These were people who could fly ships that existed in 2 places at once. It was not easy to learn. Remember, Maria told her students, when you're in quantum phase, normal physics don't apply. You can fly through solid objects. You can appear inside enemy ships. You can be in their engine room before they know you're there. One of her students, a young pilot named Greg Nash, raised his hand. Sergeant Lopez, what if we get stuck between existing and not existing? Maria smiled. Then you'll be the first person ever to be in quantum limbo. Try not to let that happen. The training was hard, but the pilots were learning. They had to think differently than any pilot in history. They weren't just flying ships. They were flying impossible ships that could do impossible things. In laboratories, around the world, scientists were building the 3 ships that would attack the alien command worlds, the USV Retribution, USV Vengeance, and USV Detroit's Wrath. Each ship was packed with weapons that used the aliens' own technology against them. Steve Johnson would captain the Retribution. Dana White would command the Vengeance. Rick Torres would lead Detroit's Wrath. All 3 had been training for this mission for over a year. The plan is simple, Kevin told them during their final briefing. We quantum jump to each command world simultaneously. We phase directly through their planetary shields. We destroy their central command computers. We get out. What if they're expecting us? Steve asked. Alex answered, "They're not. I read a message yesterday from their emperor. It said, 'The humans remain no threat. Continue normal operations.' They think we're still scared animals hiding on our planet." "How wrong they are," Dana said quietly. The final preparations took 2 more months. Earth's factories worked day and night building quantum engines and phase weapons. Every major country contributed their best people and resources. Frank Lewis led the diplomatic team that was already preparing for after the attack. When the alien empire falls apart, there will be thousands of worlds that suddenly don't have anyone in charge. We need to be ready to help them. Jerry Adams was in charge of capturing alien technology and information. We need to learn everything. We can about their empire, who they conquered, where their ships are, how their society works. As the mission date approached, Kevin stood in the command center and looked at all the people working around him. A year and a half ago, none of them had known aliens existed. Now they were planning to destroy an empire that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. "Are we really going to do this?" Claire asked him. "We're going to do more than that," Kevin replied. "We're going to win." The 3 quantum ships sat in hidden bases around the world, invisible to all sensors. Their pilots were ready. Their weapons were charged. Their quantum engines could take them anywhere in the galaxy in an instant. Jake Morrison sat at his screen, still watching space, but now he was watching for something different. He was watching for the moment when 3 human ships would appear in the heart of the alien empire and change everything. "This is for Detroit," he said to himself. "This is for everyone they took." Space alien patrol ships continued their normal routes. Their sensors detected nothing unusual around Earth. Their communications reported no threats. Their commanders remained confident that humans were no danger to anyone. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Steve Johnson's hands were steady on the controls of the USV Retribution, but his heart was pounding. In 30 seconds, he would be the first human to attack the capital of an alien empire. Through his headset, he could hear Dana White and Rick Torres preparing their own ships. "All captains, this is Admiral Price." Kevin's voice came through clearly. "You are about to do something that no humans have ever done before. You are about to show the galaxy that Earth will not be harvested. Execute Operation Lazarus in 10 seconds. Steve looked at his crew. His weapons officer was Lisa Adams, the scientist who had first seen Detroit disappear. His navigator was Amy Foster, who had first translated the alien message. His engineer was Tony Blake, who had spent 2 years building weapons from alien technology. "Ready?" Steve asked them. "Ready to make them pay," Lisa replied. "Quantum jump in 3, 2, 1, execute." The universe turned inside out. Steve felt like he was falling up and down at the same time. Colors he had never seen before flashed around. The ship. Then, suddenly, everything was normal again. Except they were no longer near Earth. They were inside a massive building on a planet thousands of light years away. Steve's ship had phased directly through the planetary shields and appeared in the central command center of Zephyr Prime, the capital of the alien empire. "We're inside their main building," Amy reported. "I can see alien computers everywhere, and aliens." Steve looked through the ship's cameras. The aliens looked like tall gray lizards wearing shiny clothes. They were staring at his ship in complete shock. None of them were moving. They couldn't understand how a human ship had appeared inside their most secure facility. "Target their main computer," Steve ordered. Lisa fired the ship's primary weapon. It was a beam that used the aliens' own dissolving technology, but turned backwards. Instead of taking things apart, it made them explode from the inside out. Throw. Alien command computer, a machine the size of a building, simply disappeared in a flash of light. Every alien in the room fell down as their communications with the rest of the empire cut off completely. "Direct hit," Lisa reported. "Their central command is gone." At the same moment, thousands of light years away, Dana White was doing the same thing to the second command world. "This is the vengeance." Dana's voice came through the radio. "We're inside their military headquarters. The aliens look like they've seen ghosts, firing now." Her ship's weapons destroyed the military coordination. center that controlled every alien warship in the galaxy. Suddenly, alien fleets that had been perfectly organized for millennia had no orders, no communication, no central command. Rick Torres was at the third command world, where the aliens controlled their economy and supply lines. Detroit's Wrath is in position, Rick reported. These aliens are running around like crazy. They're trying to activate defense systems, but we're already inside their shields, firing all weapons. His ship destroyed the computers that managed food, fuel, and supplies for 1,000 alien colonies. Without these systems, the alien empire couldn't feed itself or fuel its ships. In less than 5 minutes, humanity had cut off the 3 heads of the alien empire. But Steve Johnson wasn't finished. While his crew destroyed computers, he was recording everything he could see. The aliens' technology, their building designs, their language, their confused reactions to the attack. Amy, are you getting their communications? Yes, sir. They're panicking. They keep sending messages like, "How did humans get here? And this is impossible," and call for help. Who are they calling for help? Each other. But since we destroyed their communication centers, no one can answer. On the second command world, Dana White was watching something interesting happen. Some of the aliens were not trying to fight back. Instead, they were destroying their own equipment. They're erasing their files, her science officer reported. They don't want us to learn their secrets. Too late for that, Dana said. We're copying everything before they can delete it. Rick Torres saw something different on his world. Some aliens were trying to surrender. "Captain, they're putting down their weapons," his security chief said. "They're holding their hands up." "Do we accept surrenders?" Rick asked over the radio. Admiral Price answered from Earth. "Take prisoners if you can. We need to learn about their empire." The 3 human ships had been inside alien space for less than 10 minutes, but the damage was already spreading across the galaxy. Alien patrol ships stopped getting orders. Alien colonies stopped receiving supplies. Alien military bases couldn't communicate with each other. On thousands of worlds, species that had been enslaved by the aliens for centuries suddenly noticed that their guards were confused and disorganized. Some slaves started to escape. Others started to fight back. Steve Johnson watched his screens as chaos spread through the alien empire like a disease. "Lisa, are you seeing this?" "Yes, sir. Their whole empire is falling apart. Look at this planet here. The local aliens are fighting each other because they don't know who's in charge anymore. And this planet over here," Amy added, "the slaves have taken over the main city. They're sending messages saying, 'Thank you, humans.'" The psychological impact was even bigger than the physical damage. The Zephyrian collective had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years by convincing everyone they were unstoppable. No one had ever successfully attacked their homeworlds before. Suddenly, every species in the galaxy knew that the aliens could be beaten. The fear that had held the Empire together was gone. "All ships, this is Admiral Price. Phase 1 is complete. Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was simple. Get out alive and bring back as much information as possible." Steve's ship had recorded the complete layout of the alien capital, captured 50 alien prisoners, and stolen their entire historical database. Dana had taken the military's battle plans and weapon designs. Rick had captured the Empire's economic records and supply lists. "Quantum jump preparation complete," Tony Blake reported. "Ready to return to Earth. Execute jump." Once again, the universe turned strange. Steve felt like he was being stretched and compressed at the same time. Then they were back in Earth's solar system, safe and invisible. "All ships report status," Admiral Price ordered. "Retribution operational. Mission successful. No casualties. Vengeance operational. Mission successful. No casualties. Detroit's Wrath operational. Mission successful. No casualties." Kevin Price smiled for the first time in 2 years. "Outstanding work, everyone. Come home." As the 3 ships returned to Earth, the galaxy was changing. The alien empire that had controlled 1,000 worlds for 3 millennia was collapsing. Rebellions were starting on dozens of planets. Alien fleets were scattered and confused. Supply lines were broken. And it had all happened because 3 Human ships had appeared where they were supposed to be impossible and done what was supposed to be impossible. Jake Morrison watched it all happen on his screens. Alien signals were getting weaker and more panicked by the hour. Messages like "Empire under attack," "Request immediate assistance," and "Does anyone know what's happening?" filled the communication channels. "Jake," Lisa Adams said over the radio from the Retribution, "you should see what we found in there. Computers. They've been harvesting intelligent species for thousands of years, hundreds of civilizations, billions of people." "And now it's over," Jake replied. "Because they made the mistake of taking Detroit." The 3 ships landed at secret bases around the world. Their crews were exhausted but victorious. In 3 years, humanity had gone from being helpless victims to the destroyers of the galaxy's most powerful empire. But Steve Johnson knew this was just the beginning. The alien empire was falling apart, but there were still millions of alien ships out there. Some would try to rebuild, some would seek revenge, and some might realize that humans were now the most dangerous species in the galaxy. 6 months after the attack on the alien command worlds, Patricia Jones stood on the bridge of Earth's newest warship, the USV Liberator. She was now Admiral Jones, leader of the human pursuit fleet that was hunting down the last remnants of the Zephyrian collective. "Admiral, we have alien ships on sensors," reported her tactical officer. 3 vessels running at maximum speed toward the edge of the galaxy. Patricia looked at the display. These were the last known Zephyrian command ships. For 6 months, they had been fleeing from system to system, trying to rebuild their empire. But everywhere they went, the local species either fought them or ignored them completely. "How the mighty have fallen," Patricia said. "Open communications." The main screen showed the interior of the alien ship. The creature looking back at her was tall and gray with large black eyes. It was wearing torn robes that had once been magnificent. This was Commander Zeth Ka, formerly one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. "Human," the alien said in broken English, "we surrender. We offer you our technology in exchange for safe passage." Patricia almost laughed. 6 months ago, you thought we were animals to be harvested. Now you want to make deals? We did not understand. Your species is more dangerous than we calculated." "We're not dangerous," Patricia replied. "We're just tired of bullies." Behind her, Frank Lewis stepped forward. He was Earth's first ambassador to liberated worlds, and he had spent 6 months helping former alien colonies learn to govern themselves. "Admiral Jones," Frank said quietly, "we should accept their surrender. We need their historical records." Patricia nodded. "Commander Zeth Ka, you will surrender your ships and all personnel. In return, we will treat you according to human laws of war. You will not dissolve our cities as we dissolved yours." "We're not you," Patricia said simply. The alien ships powered down their weapons and prepared for boarding. Jerry Adams led the team that went aboard to secure them. Jerry had become Earth's expert on capturing alien technology and information. "Admiral, you're not going to believe what we found," Jerry reported an hour later. "These ships contain the complete historical records of the Zephyrian Empire, 3,000 years of conquered worlds, harvested populations, and destroyed civilizations. How many species did they wipe out? Over 200 completely extinct, thousands more reduced to slavery. And Patricia, they were planning to harvest all of Earth next year, every major city. They were going to take the entire human population." Patricia felt cold anger in her chest, but she also felt something else. Relief. Humanity had stopped this from happening not just to Earth but to countless other worlds. "What's the status of the former alien territories?" Frank Lewis consulted his reports. "It's chaos, but good chaos. On most worlds, the former slaves have taken control. They're setting up their own governments. Some are asking to join the Terran Commonwealth." The Terran Commonwealth was humanity's answer to the old alien empire. Instead of ruling other species, humans were helping them rule themselves. Instead of harvesting resources, they were sharing technology and knowledge. "How many worlds want to join?" Patricia asked. 47 so far, and more every week." Dr. Nathan Cross had been working with alien scientists from dozens of different species. They were all amazed by human quantum technology, not because it was more powerful than Zephyrian technology, but because it was completely different. "Admiral," Nathan reported over the radio, "we've made a breakthrough. By combining human quantum science with alien energy manipulation, we can actually reverse the harvesting process." Patricia stopped walking. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we can bring back some of the people who were harvested. Their atomic patterns were stored in the alien computers. We can rebuild them." "Are you saying we can bring back Detroit?" "Some of Detroit, yes, maybe 10 or 20%. It's not perfect, but it's something." Patricia closed her eyes and thought about the 670,000 people who had been dissolved by alien machines. If they could save even some of them, "Do it," she said. "Do whatever it takes." 3 months later, Patricia stood in a field in Michigan where Detroit used to be. Construction crews were building a new city, but this time they were not alone. Former alien slaves from dozens of worlds were helping. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working side by side. In the center of the construction zone was a small building with a simple sign, "Detroit Memorial Reconstruction Center." Inside, Dr. Cross and his team were using recovered alien data to rebuild people who had been dissolved. "How many have you brought back?" Patricia asked. 47,000 so far," Nathan replied. "We're getting better at it every day." The aliens kept very detailed records of their harvests. Why did they keep such detailed records? Because they were planning to study us. They wanted to understand how human brains worked so they could harvest our creativity and problem-solving abilities. Patricia shook her head. They never understood that our creativity comes from our freedom. Outside, she could see the new city taking shape. It looked different from the old Detroit. This one was designed by humans and aliens working together. It had buildings that could exist in quantum superposition. It had energy systems that used principles from a dozen different alien civilizations. Captain Steve Johnson walked up to her. He was now in charge of training human crews for the new Commonwealth fleet. "Admiral, we just received a message from the Andromedan Federation. They want to meet with Earth's representatives." Patricia raised an eyebrow. "Who is the Andromedan Federation?" "A group of species from the Andromeda Galaxy. They say they've been watching what happened to the Zephyrian Empire. They're impressed." "Impressed enough to do what?" "They want to form an alliance. They say any species that can destroy a 3,000-year-old empire in 6 months is worth knowing." Patricia smiled. A year ago, Earth had been an unknown planet on the edge of nowhere. Now they were getting diplomatic requests from other galaxies. But the best news came from Jake Morrison, who was still monitoring space communications. "Admiral, I've been tracking the former Zephyrian colonies. Not a single one has tried to restart the old empire. They're all either joining the Commonwealth or forming their own independent governments." "And what about harvesting?" "It's stopped completely. Every species in the galaxy knows what happens to civilizations that harvest other civilizations." Patricia looked up at the sky where the first Commonwealth starships were being built in orbital shipyards. Each ship was crewed by humans and aliens working together. Each ship was powered by quantum technology that the old empire never could have imagined. The Zephyrian collective had ruled through fear and superior technology. The Terran Commonwealth was growing through cooperation and shared knowledge. "What's our population now?" Patricia asked Frank Lewis. 4 billion humans plus about 12 billion from other species across 47 worlds and growing every day. "Any problems?" "The usual stuff. Some species don't get along with others. Some worlds want more independence. Some want more support, but nothing we can't handle." Patricia nodded. These were good problems to have. They were the problems of people trying to build something new together, not the problems of an empire that ruled through force. Jerry Adams brought her the final report on the Zephyrian historical records. "Admiral, we've finished analyzing their files. The Zephyrian Empire harvested over 400 billion intelligent beings during their 3,000-year reign." 400 billion, Patricia repeated quietly. "Yes, ma'am. And in their final communications, They estimated that Earth alone could provide them with raw materials for another 500 years of expansion. Patricia looked back at the construction site where Detroit was being rebuilt, where people who had been dead for 2 years were being brought back to life, where former enemies were learning to be friends. Jerry put this in the official record. On the day the Zephyrian Collective harvested Detroit, they sealed their own fate. They thought they were taking a sample of human resources. What they actually did was declare war on the most stubborn species in the galaxy. Yes, ma'am. As the sun set over the new Detroit, Patricia could see lights in the sky. Not alien ships coming to harvest humanity, but human and alien ships working together to build a better galaxy. The memorial in the center of the city bore a simple inscription that could be seen from space. Detroit, population 670,000, taken by aliens. Avenged by humanity. Rebuilt by the galaxy. Below that, in smaller letters, never again. The Zephyrian Empire was gone. The Terran Commonwealth was just beginning. And somewhere in space, Jake Morrison was still watching the stars, making sure that no one would ever harvest human cities again. Earth had learned that it was not alone in the universe, but more importantly, the universe had learned that Earth would not give up without a fight. And when Earth fought back, empires fell.